Western European leaders do not lose hope of returning US President Donald Trump to the anti-Russian camp, but they will not be able to shift responsibility from themselves. This is stated in the statement of the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergey Lavrov. They have not lost hope to use certain circles in the USA to return President Donald Trump, his administration to their anti-Russian camp and share responsibility with the United States. They like to remove responsibility from themselves. But I'm sure it won't work this time, the minister said. Lavrov noted that the leaders of Western countries are used to living with the previous administration, which led anti-Russian actions and encouraged European capitals to do so. But now, when the administration changed in Washington, it became obvious that they were simply comfortable under Joe Biden's administration, the minister said. But they wanted exactly that, so that the entire Western society would preserve unity in the fight against the Russian Federation, as they declared, with the aim of inflicting Russia a strategic defeat on the battlefield. According to the minister, we are currently living through a period of difficult trials, he said. The Russian diplomat said that the most popular word among experts in the world is war. This is a nuance that inevitably affects processes, and it is worth taking into account, and it is ahead of us. But no one knows how many more years of serious trials lie ahead of us, but it will definitely happen, the minister noted. Lavrov believes that a very interesting period has come, as our Chinese comrades say, God bless you, live in interesting times. Lavrov said that the West's position on the strengthening of multipolarity in the world is contradictory. The Global South and the Global East see in multipolarity a chance to strengthen their sovereign development without the manifestations of neocolonialism that have been expanding by the West in recent years. The West, on the other hand, perceives the situation regarding the strengthening of multilateral principles of the international world ambiguously, he said. According to Lavrov, the most important trend remains the formation of a multipolar world. We are convinced that this is a natural process. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov said on Thursday that timing for a second round of peace talks with Ukraine hasn't been determined yet. According to Associated Press, speaking at a conference in Moscow, Lavrov ruled out holding the next round of talks in the Vatican, noting that it would be not very elegant for the Vatican to host the talks between two Orthodox nations. He said Russia is working on a memorandum related to the military campaign, which will focus on eliminating its root causes. Lavrov repeated President Vladimir Putin's claims that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky lost legitimacy after his term expired last year, but emphasized that Russia is open to contacts with him and his administration to reach agreements on the settlement principles. When it comes to signing, that's where the issue of legitimacy will be of decisive importance, because if it's signed by those whose legitimacy is dubious, their successors could challenge the agreement, Lavrov claimed.
Сроки пока не определялись. Там фантазируют многие люди, когда, где она состоится. Нет у нас никаких сейчас идей. На Украине, у Соединенных Штатов, кроме. Я просто хочу сказать, чтобы не было, чтобы не тратили умственные способности на проработку вариантов, которые не очень реалистичны, потому что, представьте себе, Ватикан как место проведения переговоров, немножко это неэлегантно, я бы сказал. Когда православные страны будут на католической площадке обсуждать вопросы, касающиеся устранения первопричин. Одна из первопричин – это курс на уничтожение Украинской Православной Церкви.
Не раз говорил о необходимости создания новой архитектуры.
Мы все равно не отказываемся от контактов с ним и с его администрацией для того, чтобы согласовать устраивающие всех принципы урегулирования. Другое дело, когда дойдет до подписания Вот там вопрос легитимности будет иметь решающее значение, потому что если подпишут те, чья легитимность, ну, мягко говоря, никого уже не убеждает, то сменщики могут поставить под сомнение достигнутую договоренность. Там расследовать-то, собственно, нечего. Там люди, которые поджигают, да, уже говорят публично американские представители современной, нынешней администрации, что территориальный вопрос это неизбежно. Его придется решать, исходить из реалий и так далее. А Европа повторяет упорно и достаточно неумно, что русские должны уйти в границы 1991 года.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is trying to decide whether it is a nation-state or an aspiring empire. And until that fundamental question is resolved, conflicts like the one over Ukraine will continue in various forms. To ground imperial ambitions in old national myths is as dangerous in Russia's case as it is everywhere else. According to the Kiev Post, the Kremlin's full-scale war on Ukraine has become a monument to Vladimir Putin's strategic myopia and imperial obsession. Russian losses have surpassed a staggering 1 million casualties killed, wounded or captured. It is noted that Putin's generals, steeped in corruption and incompetence, have squandered men and material in human wave assaults and poorly coordinated offensives. The so-called meat grinder strategy, throwing waves of minimally trained conscripts and prison recruits into Ukrainian fire, has yielded little beyond body counts. Kiev Post says that Russia loses around 1,500 soldiers daily. The economic toll is already dire. The Putin exodus of skilled Russian professionals, up to 200,000 by mid-2022, has gutted Russia's intellectual and human capital. Meanwhile, the war cost, estimated at more than $400 billion a year, drains his shrinking treasury. Russia's economy has been placed on a wartime footing, but it's a house of cards, unsustainable without victory. Following the Sino-Soviet split, the Soviet Union had vast military forces stationed along its border with China, and violent conflict erupted for 7 months in 1969. But the two countries de-escalated, and now both are better off for it. To be sure, the road to establishing the same kind of relationship between Russia and Ukraine is much longer. Putin's behavior has understandably left Ukrainians skeptical of Russia, if not hostile towards it. Unless Russia refocuses on building its future solely within its own borders, the region will remain under a cloud of insecurity, ultimately to Russia's detriment. Kiev Post says that as Russian losses mount, the question is not if Putin will fail, but how soon. His military, hollowed out by corruption and attrition, cannot sustain this war. Ukraine, bolstered by Western aid and fierce resolve, grows stronger, while Russia spills oceans of blood and mountains of treasure.